Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Rotunda Roundup. I'm Kendra Rotunda. I'm a former Army JAG officer, a law professor, and a lawyer, and I host the Rotunda Roundup, in which we discuss and explore all kinds of law and policy issues as they're developing. So I wanted to get on and share a little bit about a documentary that I just watched by Dinesh D'Souza. Now, Dinesh has done a number of documentaries. They're usually coming from a conservative point of view. One of his earlier ones was Hillary's America, and there have been others. But this one specifically explores the integrity of the 2020 election and whether or not there was voter fraud. And he concludes that there was. So how does he go about this? Well, it's rather interesting. Dinesh had partnered with an organization called True the Vote. And they had also hired a voting expert who has helped to investigate and secure elections around the world in all kinds of areas and situations for over 40 years. So he had a wealth of knowledge about how to assure that elections are in fact secure and how to determine when they are not. And so one of the first things they did is that they purchased cell phone signals. I didn't even know that you could do this, but as you think about it, I guess it makes sense. So certainly you've had a situation where you're maybe out at the mall or you're on your way somewhere and your cell phone dings and you've now got a coupon to somewhere that happens to be right on the way. A coupon to Best Buy or CVS, or maybe a promotional at a restaurant that you often go to that you're close to. Well, none of that is by chance. Advertisers are in fact buying your cell phone signal and following where you are and sending you things that might interest you. Apparently, I suppose that is legal. And so that's the type of process that Dinesh and True the Vote went through. They purchased quite a lot of cell phone signals. They then monitored over 300 ballot drop boxes. And they also then were able to access publicly available video footage, in some cases that would overlooked these ballots, they could be able to see what was going on in fact at these ballot drop boxes. What they had triangulated for was a combination of things. They looked for people who had visited more than 10 ballot boxes within a short period of time, and who had also been to voting organizations at least 5 times, so that this would show a pattern of consistent travel between voting organizations and various voting drop boxes, assuming that no person would really have much of a legitimate reason to be carrying other ballots to and fro. They discovered that this was happening with a lot of regularity, and in fact that a lot of these ballot mules, as they called them, were even crossing state lines and going into other states and dropping ballots there as well. So one wonders, why would a legitimate voter need to be crossing state lines? Another interesting thing about it is that most of these ballots were dropped off in the dark of night. And usually people who are acting legitimately and lawfully don't operate in the shadows. And so I found that compelling, that there was a fair amount of evidence, video evidence, of people shoving ballots into ballot boxes late at night, sometimes so full that they would just come falling out, and it would take them several attempts to get all these ballots shoved in there. They also then identified at some point in Arizona there had been an indictment, ballot related it sounds like, that was based on fingerprints. And so what they began seeing almost immediately the next day with all these couriers or mules, whatever you refer to them as, that they are now wearing gloves. And so it was if a message had been sent out that, look, they're looking for fingerprints, you don't want to get caught. And so now all these ballot mules are now wearing gloves when they go drop off ballots. So who knows what the full and complete story is, but I found this to be really pretty compelling. And one of the things that Dinesh asks of his viewers is he poses the question, do you really believe that the 2020 election had the greatest voter turnout ever in the history of our country? Maybe, maybe not. And then secondly, do you really believe that Joe Biden, who was kind of a tepid candidate really in the primaries, do you really believe that he got more votes than beloved Barack Obama? And that also, I think, is a kind of a compelling question to consider as well. Anyway, friends, you may want to take a look at the documentary. This is just a little overview of some of the things that are in there. It really is really well done, and there's a lot of information in there. There's a lot to think about. It also is in the form of a book. I think that might even be more interesting than the documentary if you really want to deeply explore the merits of it. I'm assuming the book would have footnotes. I sure hope it does. It should, so that you can really go to each item and look at the source or the authority for that. I think that would certainly lend credibility to the claims. In any event, I do think it's so very important that we secure our elections, because when people don't feel that they have secure elections, they start to act out in other ways. And it starts to just really erode the belief that we have in our security, the faith in those who we elect to serve us, to make decisions for us and on our behalf. So I really think this is something worth looking deeply at. And if there is voter fraud, it really needs to be ameliorated. We've just got to secure our elections if we didn't have a secure election this last go round. In any event, friends, thank you for joining me on the Rotunda Roundup, and I'll see you here next time.